All I'm gonna say is it is hard as hell to stick to a routine after you have been off that routine for a short amount of time. Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my BookTube channel. This video is going to be my Geekly Wrap-Up for the week of October 7th through October 13th. One of these days, you know, I will or I won't actually get the dates right on the very first try. So this week I managed to read 4 books and play 3 board games. I was also reading a web comic, so that's going to be something a little bit new for you all to hear about. So the three of the 4 books that I read were for the Disability Readathon. One of them was the comic Know Youre Mad, a comic about depression by Katie Donnelly. This was a very short, semi-autobiographical comic about the author's experience with depression. I thought it was just okay. I feel like it was a little too short to actually, you know, necessitate being printed in a pamphlet, and there wasn't really any, like, substantive story or message to, I don't know, like, I don't really know why this comic was made, other than just the author's, you know, expression of her experience with depression, but it wasn't really trying to say anything, and I kind of found that it fell a bit flat for me. I also read the comic Reverse Flainer by M. Sabine Rear, which is her story about being a blind woman traveling in Germany and Austria. I was really interested in the ways in which this author talked about her experience going to museums and experiencing art, and especially artist protest as a blind person. There's one point where there was a piece of artwork that is embedded into the floor of the museum, and it is a common, like, protest against this artist who was very abusive to his partner, who was also an artist. Many people protest this particular artist's work by walking over his art that's embedded into the floor. And she talks about the difference between a non-visibly disabled couple that got in trouble for trying to walk over the art, and then when she tries to walk over the art, a security guard is like, oh, it's just a confused blind lady, she didn't mean anything by it, and she was like, no, actually I did. So I thought that the way that this piece engaged with, like, museums and museum studies was really interesting. Again, short and sweet, glad that I read it. And then the final book that I read this week for the Disability Readathon was The Pretty One, which is an essay collection by Kia Brown. I love this book. I'm also feeling like #blessed that I happened to finish it on National Coming Out Day, which is the day that Kia also came out as bisexual, and I was just like, yay! Another awesome bisexual, yay! It made me so happy. I really enjoyed this book. I thought that, I don't know, I really like reading memoirs by people who are, like, under 30 or people who are, like, closer to my own age group. I feel like when I was growing up, memoir was definitely something that it was, like, older people wrote, people that were, like, towards the end of their lives wrote as a, like, retrospective on, you know, the wisdom they had accumulated over the years. I'm really digging this you know, trend of, like, younger people writing their memoirs and writing their stories, especially Kia's story, because she is a Black, disabled, queer woman, and that's not the kind of person that you usually see on the cover of a best-selling memoir, and so I was really happy to buy her book and support it, and I really loved all of her stories, so check it out. I think anybody would enjoy this. The last book that I read this week was the new book out by Moira Fowley Doyle. It's called All the Bad Apples. I don't have it with me because it's a new book, so it had to go back to the library because other people requested it, and I couldn't renew it to just hold it up. So you're going to have to imagine that I'm holding it up. It'll be lovely. It'll be fine. Trust me. And this was a book that was, again, about sort of a family curse, and there's this girl named Dina that is a sort of, like, young lesbian in Ireland. She has a really strict religious father, and her family has this, like, family curse about the bad apples of the family getting their comeuppance when they hear the banshees scream 3 times. And these are these figures from, like, Irish folklore and mythology, and the legend has it that when you hear one of them scream, it's a harbinger that you're about to die soon. This being Moira Fowley Doyle's particular brand of like Irish mythology, though, Dina has to kind of go on this hero's journey almost to uncover the secrets of the family curse and how the curse of the bad apples is really the curse that forces them all to be silent about the things that make them different, the things that are considered socially unacceptable both in the past and the present, things such as being queer, being a lesbian, getting pregnant when you're not married, still having a baby, trying to access abortion, still very stigmatized and up until extremely recently illegal in Ireland and punishable by up to 14 years in prison for anyone involved in the abortion process, which makes me mad just talking about it. But, and this book does come with trigger warnings for rape, sexual assault, sexual violence, incest, and child abuse and neglect leading to child death. It does a really like critical examination of what were these like Magdalene laundries is what they were called, which were these basically part of the carceral system where unmarried pregnant women would have to go work in these laundries and they would be forced to like do all of this backbreaking labor until they had their babies, and then they were not allowed to keep their babies. The babies were often sent overseas to be adopted by Irish or Irish descended families living in America, often without the biological mother's knowledge or consent. So Moira Fowley Doyle said that she wrote this in response to the fact that we are still uncovering mass graves of the children that died there because of abuse and neglect, and so she started writing this novel as a way to kind of process and respond to the anger that she felt hearing about this in the news. So, on that less than light note, I did want to say that I have also really been enjoying the webcomic Semi-Co-op. It is produced by a husband and wife duo on a website. I will link that down below in the description. Obviously, it's on a website because it's a webcomic. Can you tell I don't talk about webcomics ever on BookTube? But I'm really enjoying it because it is a webcomic about their exploits playing board games, and it's been going since 2015. So when I discovered it, I did not do the usual webcomic thing where you read however, many months the creator has put out and then go, I just wish they could produce it faster. I then just immediately went back to where it all began in 2015 and started reading it from the beginning. It's really amazing. It's very funny, tongue-in-cheek. I think if you play board games, you will really enjoy this comic. If you have no idea anything about modern board games, you probably won't get it, but you could check it out if you wanted to. I'm not going to stop you. I've been really, really enjoying that comic, so I will again leave that linked down below. Speaking of board games, I know I promised you all that I was going to make a video wrapping up the convention that I went to. I promise that that is still coming. It's just taking time to stitch together all of the footage that I took and find out a way to talk about all of the 16 board games that I played in a cohesive way that makes sense and isn't prohibitively long so that no one will want to watch it. So I did play 3 games this week. The first one that I played is a game that is finally now back in stock, which is how we got a hold of it, and that is called Bargain Quest. This is a competitive game where players are playing as different shopkeepers trying to attract heroes to your shop so that they will give you money and then go win your shop renown by defeating monsters and bad guys with the gear that you sold them. So it's like an interesting twist on your typical card drafting game because instead of you sending people out to like gain resources for you or draft resources via cards, you are drafting customers that come into your shop to give you money. So it's an interesting inverse of the way that these type of games normally work. I thought that this game was adorable. It was pretty fun to play. I will say that it's not much of a 2-player game unless you are playing with the advanced 2-player rules, just because the basic 2-player rules are so basic that it doesn't really become a game where there's interesting choices so much as a very deterministic cards shuffling around. Well, there are 2 options and player 1 picked one of the options, so I have to pick the second option. I have no other choice. So that part was kind of annoying, but you have to play with the advanced 2-player rules if you want to have a good 2-player experience. I know this does play up to 6, so I will probably be looking to get a big group together and try it out at a higher player count because I think it's going to be a lot more fun there. I'd also really love to give a shout out to the art because the artwork in this game is amazing. It's super diverse. It has characters of all races, ethnicities, different sort of like outfits, garbs, stuff like that. It is way more diverse than your typical Western fantasy inspired game artwork tends to be. So I just wanted to shout that out for being excellent in that regard. Then we played a game that my husband and I bought at Shucks, which is the board game convention that we went to, and it is super adorable. It's called Walking in Burano. Burano is the island in off of Venice that is famous for its glass blowing, and it's also apparently famous for these like row houses that are painted in all of these different bright colors, which I did not know, but since that is basically the theme of this game, I very quickly figured it out. So in Burano, it is also a like tile drafting tableau building game where there is a sort of buy pool that's available to all the players of the bottom, middle, and top floors of houses, and you are trying to draft the best house tiles so that when you place them in front of you and build your beautiful little house, it has a cute aesthetic, all the colors of all the floors are matching, you have a nice alternation of colors, and then there are these various decorations that are on the outside of the house, things like cats or chimney pots or little flowers in cute little cups and things like that that will attract the best visitors. Things that I love about this game. It's fucking cute. This is just one of the most adorable games I've ever played. Santa is a character in the game. He can visit your houses and give you points based on the number of chimneys that you have. There are characters that just exist to give you points based off of the number of cats. The second is that it is really easy to set up and learn how to play, which kind of leads into the third, that this is a really good game to teach to people in your life if they don't have a lot of experience playing board games, because it's really easy to pick up. It's short, you can set it up pretty quickly. Since the game ends when the first person has built 5 houses with all 3 floors, it doesn't ever really take longer than maybe 30 to 40 minutes, even at the higher player counts. We were playing it at capacity yesterday, and the game was not even really very long at all, even with more players added in. So it is definitely a welcome, beloved addition to our board game collection, and I'm going to keep enjoying playing this. Fourth thing to love about this game is that it's also really cheap. I think we paid maybe $20 American for it. We bought it in Canadian dollars, so I'm trying to do the math, but also remember in my head what we did. But yeah, I would highly recommend this for the board gamers and non-board gamers alike in your life. Also, if you just like really cute buildings and cats and Santa, you're not gonna go wrong with this game at all. Whoa, as I throw the pieces everywhere. And then the last game that I played this week was a replay, but kind of with a twist, and that was Pandemic Rising Tide. If you hang out around board games at all, you've probably heard of Pandemic. It's a wildly popular cooperative game where players work together to cure 4 diseases that are ravaging the globe. It has spawned a number of spin-offs and iterations. There are campaign versions of the game, and this is the second in a historical series that uses the same pandemic mechanics as the base Pandemic games, only in Rising Tide, instead of trying to cure diseases, you are trying to build 4 hydraulic structures in the historical Netherlands map, basically. So this game is based off of a bunch of the floods and the technologies to mitigate them that existed in the Netherlands from roughly the 1600s to the 1900s. So like I said, instead of curing 4 diseases, you're building 4 hydraulic structures to stop the Netherlands from flooding. Instead of moving little disease cubes around to represent sick people, you're moving water cubes around to represent flooded areas, and you can do things like build dikes or windmill pumping stations that get the water out of everywhere. Very similar to the base game, you have storm cards instead of epidemic cards, so every so often when you're drawing cards, you're going to cause a storm that drops a whole bunch more water on the map. And my husband and I actually played the variant version of this game because we had played the regular version of it several times already. He got me this game for Christmas last year, so it's been a while that we've played it. And the variation actually introduces some new objectives that are different from just building the basic 4 hydraulic structures. And that, I think, is where this game really does a great job at interpreting the history that it's trying to capture through the gameplay. Because a lot of the objective cards have to do with specific scenarios that have happened in history, or with like the history of the Netherlands, where it was first really developed and like built up with buildings and waterways and stuff like that. We've played it twice this week, and we have yet to win a game because the the special objectives are hard. They're especially hard when you add in the mechanic where you have like population that's on the board, and if you remove population because of water, it's real bad because obviously it represents people dying in flooding, and if too many people die in the flood, you lose the game, which is just bad for everybody involved. So I'm really enjoying this. I am looking forward to picking it up again this week and hopefully trying to stop the poor population cubes of the Netherlands from being swept away. And that is Pandemic Rising Tide. So that is going to do it for this week's Geekly Wrap-Up. I somehow managed to fit a lot more into this week than I thought possible, considering how crazy busy it's been. I have a vlog going up. You're going to see it either the video before this or the video just after this, depending on scheduling. I don't exactly know how that's going to work out yet, but I have a vlog detailing all of the bookish things that I did this same week. I went to 2 author events and the Seattle Antiquarian Book Fair, so please keep an eye out for that. A great way to do that is to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because number 1, you'll get to see that vlog. Number 2, you'll be helping me on my quest to 300 subscribers by the end of the year. And number 3, your life will be improved, I hope, by the YouTube algorithm throwing my videos at you. So yeah, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you as always for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.